hope for us all. We'll defend the land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll all we have. We'll defend the land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Yes, this is Lagoon Radio. Good morning and welcome to the program. Is State of the Nation, our political program on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and the official radio of the Anglican Diocese of Lagos. We are transmitting live from the Archbishop's Palace right here in Marina, Lagos. It's Thursday, the 21st day of April 2022, and it's 6 minutes gone past the hour of 10. Yes, I know your day is going on well. Yes, I like the lyrics of that song. Nigerians will be united. United in an electoral process, but will be divided by their choice, by the choices they make at the polling unit in 2023. And that's where we'll leverage this morning. And the topic we'll be looking at is the challenges facing the conduct of 2023 general election. Yes, the challenges facing the conduct of 2023 election. And remember, you can download the app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's Lagoon Radio Nigeria. And Instagram and Twitter is Lagoonradio.Ng. You can also listen to us directly via the link www.lagoonradio.ng. Yes, and I'm not alone in the studio. With me this morning to look at this topic is Oluwatobi Ayola. Oluwatobi, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. By the way, happy Easter in arrears, everybody.
Yes, happy Easter to you.
Good to be back.
Yes. Something struck me during the Lenten season. For the first time in my life, I experienced, I don't know if it has happened, but I experienced that it was the first time that the Christians' Lenten period matched with the Muslims' Ramadan fast. Have you ever experienced that?
Well, if I have, I wouldn't be able to tell because I don't really follow the Ramadan fast that much. But it's good to see, and I guess being able to coexist and live in harmony as exhibited so far, I think is something for everybody to be cheerful about.
Okay, and why I brought up that is when we talk about being united, is like the Christians and Muslims. They were united in prayers over the Lenten period and the Ramadan. Yes, the Ramadan is still on. The Lenten period has ended. Now, looking at the challenges facing Nigeria, let me, personally, are you convinced that the 2023 elections, that all of them will hold in every part of the Federation?
There's no denial that there are concerns, especially at the North Central right now, and that's Kaduna State and some other parts of North, and of course the hyper problem with the Southeast. There are grievous concerns, especially with what we saw recently in the Southeast, where I think 2 members of the INEC team were allegedly shot. at while carrying out their civic responsibility of voter card. I don't know if it's registration or distribution. It's a big concern for every Nigerian, and especially the government that have been conferred with the serious responsibility of securing every Nigerian. And so far so good. The government haven't lived up to that responsibility, and it behoves every Nigerian to give this government the necessary support, because yes, we've given them the authority, but of course security is everybody's business, and in every way possible we should avail ourselves with the support the government needs, and of course so that we can all live in peace and harmony, because we can't have a progressive society, we can't have a united society when we sort of sever the responsibility to others, because of course some will allege that they are paid to do so, so they should be able to live up to it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to security, you pay, whether you pay anybody or not, you are still your number one security personnel. So it's important that we work together in that regard. And talking about the North Central and the other parts of the North is a big concern, because this has been a big issue for us since Jonathan's regime, and it's invariably the premise on which this current administration, won the heart of the people, because they were able to convince Nigerian people that the retired general has the competency, capacity to deliver as far as security solution is concerned. But I don't know, as far as we are concerned, we've not made any progress regarding that. And of course there are so many challenges. I saw the news recently about the United States condition to deploying the recently acquired jets, which of course, because there have been human rights accusation against the government, they are not really being able to act as they ought to. So the challenges are besetting us on every side.
Okay, talking about challenge, a day before, just like you mentioned, the attack on the INEC ad hoc officials in Imo State, yes, somewhere Ihito Boma, a day or 2 days before that incident, the INEC chairman, Professor Yakubu Mahmood, expressed he expressed displeasure, and he expressed his concern about the rising security challenges. And a day after he made mention of that, after that concern was raised, this happened in Imo State. And that one apart. Now, looking at the INEC education, how far has INEC, by your own observation or by your own score, how can you rate INEC in the voter education? How far have they gone in educating Nigerians about the upcoming general election in 2023?
I think I will read, as to be honest, my scoring of INEC it is not undermining what they are actually doing, but the reality is they've fallen short a great deal. And as far as INEC's position is concerned, I think it's clear their intention as far as organizing a free, fair, and credible election is concerned. But in terms of educating the electorate as regards their participation in the process, they've fallen short a great deal, because I can't remember how often I've seen, maybe INEC officials actually coming out to talk on the media. I think in the past 1 month, probably just once. What are they doing on a community basis? Like having, all symposiums, conferences, and all, to address like they can even, collaborate with the local government authorities and actually have town hall meetings with people and they can work with religious houses, various stakeholders to make sure that people are properly educated as to what. But then I saw an interview of a senior colleague in in the INEC, and it sounded very good. The intentions were very, very clear and commendable. But as far as voter education is concerned and working with the various stakeholders, I don't think they've done well. And thankfully, there's still time for them to sort of raise up the level. But as far as up to now is concerned, I'm not convinced that they have done well at all in terms of voter education.
Okay, this also should not be limited alone to the INEC. And this is where, maybe for me, the National Orientation Agency comes in. From that ministry, have we seen anything in the past few years, the National Orientation Agency? Because educating the voters, the citizens, I can say maybe do not only boil down to INEC, but also National Orientation Agency. How far do you know about that organization?
To be honest, the agency, like every other national agency, have been below par in terms of their performance. Everything national, as far as Nigeria is concerned, is not something to reckon with. They need to, I don't know if the leadership or the institution as a whole, but they've been short of anything, commendable in terms of dispensing their responsibility. And I think, knowing that, what we would expect of INEC is actually, because basically there's a limit to what these agencies can do when they are not fully informed. But if INEC can reach out to them and actually, brief them thoroughly on the modus operandi of the process, of course, then they can actually go out and educate people accordingly. So I think the major box stop with INEC in being able to actually reach out to all the stakeholders, both government across board, the national, state, and local governments, like I said earlier, the media houses, the religious bodies, and other, even the political parties. I think they are very, very key stakeholders, because of course the political parties have members that are quite loyal to them. And I think part of the greatest challenge we've had in our electoral system for since this republic began is the political parties putting their interest as a party ahead of the interest of the Nigerian people. And I think it behooves INEC to actually educate the leadership, and of course that will streamroll down to the rest of the membership on the best conduct for election. And of course, because over time our elections have been marred with all sorts of violent and malpractices, but which are largely perpetrated by members of the political parties. Because an average Nigerian who doesn't have any form of attachment to a political party is most likely detached from the electoral process altogether. Like there's voter party. So those that majorly perpetrate these heinous acts during the election are mostly members or mercenaries of this political party. So if INEC can reach out to those political parties and actually, work with them better and give a process whereby their members are properly educated on the best conduct for electoral processes, then I think we can look forward to a more improved, because I don't think we can expect an election that is void of any form of violence completely. We are humans, and of course we have our unique emotions, but INEC playing its part would help at least to minimize and of course set our electoral system on a path that we can all look forward to, that yes, we are making progress.
Okay, you're still on to our State of the National Political Program on Lagoon Radio, and we are looking at the challenges facing the conduct of 2023 general election. We'll go on this short break. When we come back, we'll look at a statement made by his son, Professor Afe Babalola. He mentioned something. We'll look at that statement and we'll dissect it and know what it means for our democracy. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Lagoon Radio.
United in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for generations to come. And for generations to come. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We're a great nation.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Yes, sir, we believe in Nigeria and the promises she holds. Yes, and one of the promises it holds is to unite Nigerians across all board. Yes, but in an Easter message by the Archbishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Kuka, he said that Nigerians has not been divided like this, and it's one of the challenges that is facing that conduct of 2023 general election. You're still on to Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and the official radio of the Anglican Diocese of Lagos. We are transmitting live from the Archbishop's Palace right here in Marina, Lagos. Yes, Olumakaiye is still here. Yeah, and like you know, and like I said before, we are discussing the challenges facing the conduct of 2023 general election. Download the app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Twitter and Instagram, Lagoonradio.Ng. Yes, and of course we are live on Facebook, and you can also, if you missed the program at any of our programs, you can go to YouTube and LagoonTV and watch a recap of the program. Yes, like we said before we dive into the Bishop Kuka's message, his son, Professor Afe Babalola, he has called for interim government. Yes, maybe for 6 months to run the government after the Buhari's administration, because the way he said the way he's looking at it is like there will be no smooth transition, that there should be an interim government before a proper handover. Do you subscribe to that notion?
With all due respect to the prof, I don't think that those are the kind of statements that should be coming from an elder statesman like him. What we need most from our, of course, these elders is unifying statements. More than ever, Nigeria needs that, and such statement. Of course, we're all concerned as to the way the government, the present government is running the polity. It's grievous concern. Like the on every side, the economy is terrible. The insecurity is at its worst state in probably 8 years. Everything is terrible. But what leadership is about is, giving hope to the rest of the people, providing leadership where, there's chaos. And I don't think, because it's sending wrong signals as to what kind of election we can look forward to, and it's not good for a electoral participation that is already, marred by some form of apathy. More and more people will be discouraged as to, okay, if somebody with this form of knowledge, with this kind of knowledge, can think like this, then why should I participate in the election altogether? So those are not the kind of statements we need from such people. So I don't know. With due respect to him, it's a disappointing statement, I must say, because why would we be talking about, like, we've had this is the longest, a democracy that we've been able to sustain since independence, and of course, everybody, yes, is very far from perfection, but everybody is hopeful that, and I think the greatest commendation should go to the Senate that, of course, make sure the bill was passed, the Electoral Act came into force, and of course, INEC that have shown full commitment to making to actually organizing an election that every Nigerian can be convinced is actually credible. And of course, they've given us a good example to refer to with the Anambra election. Is an election I followed at least close enough to be able to talk about, and from it, there is no doubt in the position of INEC as to their commitment to making sure that the elections are, going forward will be free and fair, and all the itineraries, all the facilities that INEC has deployed so far is showing the intention to, of course, improve the electoral process. So, with all these signals from some of the key stakeholders that yes, they are committed to having a progressive transition from this current regime, to have another statesman come out with such a statement is not a good one.
Okay, so, the governor of Imo State, talking about Hope Uzodinma, also countered that statement. He said, like you mentioned, he said, this is not the kind of thing we should be hearing from another statesman. And a lot of politicians have also condemned that statement. But looking at Nigeria, do you think on your own that interim government will set things aright before the transition of power?
What's an interim government supposed to do? Already in this current regime, we feel that this regime is far from the people. And by interim government, you are saying that you are going to have an appointed government as against democracy. Because otherwise, why would you have an interim government? And interim government doesn't send any signal of election. So if you are saying that, then you are discouraging the progress of the democracy we are all, of course, excited about, and I don't see how that in any way solve anything, because the last thing we want is to continue to send the message that the elites, in a way, want to continue to control the system, as against actually having a government that shows or reflects the mind of the general Nigerian people. So I don't think that in any way is helpful for our polity.
Okay, let's come down to INEC. Looking at the INEC, maybe concerns have been raised. A lot of people are still doubting the capability of INEC to hold a free and fair election in Nigeria. But like you mentioned, what they did in Anambra, the beavers and the rest of them, and like you said, we can never take violence away from the conduct of our elections. But looking at the newly electoral bill that has been that is already there, what does this electoral bill provide? Because according to politicians, they said it will help curb violence in our elections.
I think I should correct the word, that statement. I didn't say that we cannot take violence. I said it's going to take a long process.
Okay.
Because, of course, we human beings are emotional, and of course, whatever we have interest in, it takes a level of control to actually manage the emotions. So, getting rid of violence is something that's going to be a process thing. It's not going to be an event. However, as far as INEC's place in the whole system is concerned, I like the first question you have. It behoves on INEC to educate everybody properly. I think I'll give you a first-hand experience. I was privileged when I was a serving corps member to be among the team the INEC was going to be deployed to, of course, various local governments to distribute continual voters registration card. And it happened that I had certain cards. At first, they showed that the people were not actually alive, and their cards were there. The certain persons came to collect the card, and this person were obviously underage. And the question I asked myself at the time was, this registration was not done now. It had been done before now. So how can certain people actually register these people who are clearly not eligible yet to be part of the election or electoral process? That is, they are not ready to be electorate yet, and yet their cards were there. So those are that shows how deep the challenge INEC is facing is, and that is a major concern on the part, and that is why INEC has to be commended, because they've continued to deploy systems that can actually reduce to a great extent and possibly curb these excesses. And that is why they brought, of course, the beavers, which make sure that only those that are verified at the polling unit are able to vote. And of course, when it comes to verification, in fact, they said they've introduced the facial recognition, not just limited to your biometric certification now. So by virtue of facial recognition, of course, I think there are technologies that will determine that if this person age-wise is not eligible. So of course you are automatically disqualified, because to a great extent, those are the means through which a lot of malpractices have been deployed in election. And if INEC can actually curb such things to a great extent, the lack of credibility that has marred our election so far will be greatly, reduced. And which is why it should involve everybody, because I don't know, to a great extent I won't expect such things to be prevalent in the southwest and other regions of Nigeria that are quite educated, but those interland regions where to a great extent the level of development is not there, they can easily engage in such vices. But more and more, if INEC is able to engage the members of the community and educate them on the best practices, and let them know why it is important for them to actually do the right thing and get the right sort of politicians in place, then those developments that they desire would be attained without them having to involve themselves in all this malpractice. So a lot is required of INEC on that regard, and of course the rest of the community and essentially the political parties. And I used to have a great concern about the fact that we have a party system, which is a major issue, because we see the parties putting up ridiculous amounts for participation in the election. And I think it's also important for INEC to actually educate or talk to these parties, because if you are going to get good participation, requiring a candidate or participant to raise enormous sum of money is in no way good for the electoral system, because it now tends to be like an investment program and not actually a system that provides public servants whose sole responsibility is to actually serve the public and not present themselves as rulers or political jobbers, as the case may be. So I think to a great extent, INEC need to collaborate, work very, very closely with the political parties to ensure that in terms of their best practices, they adopt what is more practicable, because except we have independent candidacy, which is not provided for in the constitution right now. It's what the political parties are bringing forward or presenting to the Nigerian people is not attainable.
Okay, like yesterday, to make that clear, that notion clear, the APC announced their nomination form to be 100 million for the presidency and 50 million for the governorship. That's 30 million for the expression of interest form and 70 million for the form proper. That makes it 100 million. And I believe there is a benchmark INEC set for spending of money in an election. They raised the money for the presidency about 5 billion to spend. Now, looking at that and looking at the teeming number of youths, in the first term of this administration, they signed Not Too Young to Run bill. And a lot of youths have expressed interest in taking over. Now, this is a very big challenge. Finance. It is like political parties are more monetized than ever. And I'm not sure, looking at it, can youths who want to participate in an election have the space to do so?
The reality is the financial factor to election is a major setback for our political space. A big setback, because it's major discouragement, especially for young people and even for adults. I don't think anybody that has a legitimate business that is making money from would want to cough out that ridiculous. And these are just a nomination and, of course, a participation form, not the entire process.
The meeting before meeting and meeting
that
after
costs
meeting.
a lot of sum in money. So it's in no way something positive for our political atmosphere, and which is ideally because of course the national structure, the two political parties would have set us on a very, very interesting path in terms of political progress. But with this financial package that they've presented to us, I think we are left with no option but to look out to a multi-party system whereby other parties can actually have more engagement in the system and allow more people, especially the younger people, to participate. It's just unfortunate that, of course, Nigeria being so large, most of these other parties do not have the capacity, nationally. They're talking about national coverage, but at least on a start, I think that's maybe the only respite for Nigerians that actually desire a change. And I think every one of us should be concerned, because we want a progressive political atmosphere. And I think the last thing we want to build our politics on is money. And because the reason why we are in this quagmire in the first place is because that is what our politics have been based on. And we are talking about a country that the minimum wage is just 30,000.
And just yesterday, the Labour Congress mentioned some states that have refused to
that
pay.
are not able to pay.
So how do civil servants that want to get into politics, how do they do this?
It just shows that the system is wrongly incorporated, and I think it's important that stakeholders, civil societies and the likes, needs to protest against these, because if you are going to have the mega parties, presenting this to everybody, then it shows that they are not interested in the change that every Nigerian desires. It shows that they are not interested in the progress that we all desire, because this is a massive setback, and a country that is beset with a great amount of debt in terms of course, what we are making in revenue. You want to make sure that your spending is reduced as much as possible and better invest in more productive programs and all. But to now put a sort of unrealistic stake in terms of what is required to participate in the electoral system, it's setting everybody back. And I think the best thing every one of us can do, especially, of course, the leading stakeholders, talking about the civil societies and even the religious houses and the media, can actually speak against these developments to discourage. I think I also saw that they reduced or they gave 50% discount for younger people.
Yeah, under 40.
But that is still not a realistic thing to look at. We should be very honest with ourselves. A country that the most important aspect of the economy, that's the education system, has been grounded for more than 2 months. The what's it called? We continue to see agitations from the medical, people, all because of funding. And if those things are not getting the fund they need, and will be pumping so much money into an electoral system that does not necessarily need this money, then it shows that we are not serious. And I think the political parties, the mega political parties, should be called to order.
Okay, now let's look at the statement made by Bishop Kukah, his Easter message. Yes, he said that going forward, he listed some conditions that the next president must possess, which is also his challenge. He mentioned about the security, he mentioned about division, and in fact, he spoke about a lot, but let's focus on the security and division. He said Nigerians has never been divided than ever before, that this current government, that they are experts in dividing Nigerians. And security-wise, that we are nowhere to be found. Remember that the captives is going to 2 weeks now. Those that were captured on the Kaduna train.
Even the Chibok girls, after many years, have not been returned.
Yes. So, and looking at it, looking at the message of Bishop Kukah, of course, the presidency came out and countered that statement. But looking at what he said, from that, let's take the security first. Like I asked you before, if this continue like this, are we still going to hold elections in the 774 local governments in Nigeria?
The reality is, I think the previous elections were held not under a better condition than this. to be honest with ourselves, in fact, the situation at the time in the Northeast was very, very bad, and yet elections, were held in those places. So I don't think we should be overly worried if I would adopt that as far as holding of the election is concerned. But the reality is, I think a lot rests on the candidate, the aspirant at the moment, on how they actually talk about issues. Because I can't remember, since the IPOB trouble started, I can't remember a time where the president actually called members of this group to actually talk to them. Because even if you are going to fight war with anybody, there is going to be a dialogue first. Understand? Enemies are even in the middle of war, they talk to themselves. So there's no reason why the government cannot call the relevant, stakeholders in terms of agitation and actually understand what their perspective is, and basically let them know what is attainable in terms of what they aspire for and what they cannot get as far as national interest is concerned. That's what we need as far as agitation and insecurity is concerned. You need to engage these people. They are not beasts. no matter how terrible what they've done is or her, they are still human beings and they can be talked to. And that's the kind of personality we need in as far as the president is concerned. Someone that can actually reach out to anybody, no matter high or low. And I don't know. Personally, like I said, I don't hide it. I never voted the second tenure for President Buhari because I saw him as physically unfit to carry out. It's not just about your intelligence. You are talking about somebody that is going to govern a country of over 99,000 kilometers, or I think it's about 97 or 98,000 kilometers. Like, you need somebody that will be agile and very viral. And the president during the first time showed that he is not that kind of person. But moving forward, we need somebody that will be viral in terms of agility, that can move around, reach out to everybody, show that he is the president of the whole country and not just sit in Abuja or be going around. You are not the president of the world. You are the president of Nigeria. So your first interest is Nigeria. And it's quite unsettling that we have a president that is sitting somewhere and the whole place seems to be chaotic. It's a sad thing, but that's the reality we have now. And so, going into the election, these are the key things we should be asking the candidate, the aspirant about, from the primary level to when they eventually emerge as candidates. Those are the questions that we should be looking to ask them, because the way this aspirant responds to this question is going to speak a lot to the people, because every one of us, we live on hope. And of course, every individual is a symbol of hope. And what Nigeria needs right now is that person that would encapsulate that symbol that we all, desire, and actually speak to the issues that we all see and show us or convince us enough that they can handle it. I think that's essentially the purpose of election. And I don't buy the idea of the elders that are, it's important that they all speak, because we need it to actually put the leadership in check, but they should do more in giving people hope rather than creating further concerns, further worry, further distortion in the system.
Okay, you're still on to State of the National Political Program on Lagoon Radio. We'll go on this short break. When we come back, we look at some of the statements that have been made by some of the aspirants, and we look at the way forward in some of the challenges facing the election in 2023. Keep listening to us. We'll be right back.
This is Lagoon Radio.
We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll all we have. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united
This is
in our
Lagoon
strength.
Okay, you're still on to State of the Nation, and welcome to the last phase of the program. Yes, our time has been fast spent. Now, looking at the PDP, yes, like we have the two major. Someone said yesterday that it's sad that after all the noise, that will still be left to choose between these two big devil That's the way they. In fact, in his analysis, he said it will be left to choose between the two devils we already know. That's the PDP and the APC. There were so much noise about the third force and the rest of them, but we never saw them coming. Though Rabi Kwankwaso has picked his form in that political party. But looking at, do you see in any way power moving from these two political parties, APC and the PDP?
Well, there is nothing impossible. And a great deal of it is rested on the aspirants of the other parties. For the past 2 weeks, I was shocked at the almost a definite silence from the camp of Moghalu. I even thought at the time he had withdrawn from the whole process altogether, until I actually had to go and check his media handle, and I saw that he's actually still very much working on his own part, and which is a great challenge these peripheral parties have. The fact that they lack the structure nationally, and I think they have to live with the reality. What I would have expected of them is to actually have a coalition, talking about the likes of Moghalu, the Kwankwaso group you mentioned, the Shiore of AAC, and other, peripheral interests. Unfortunately, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I don't take them seriously, because if you, as somebody that understands the complexity of our national orientation, it's only common sense for you to actually come together and put resources together, because that is what it's all about. You put your resources together, and APC only came, about they were only able to overrun the PDP government at the time because it was a coalition of parties with strong regional structure. The CPC had a very, very strong presence in the north. The what's it called? The ACN basically had the southwest at the time. I think aggrieved some section of PDP, very, very strong. Of course, remember Saraki and the former Vice President Atiku at the time. They were very pivotal in wrestling power from PDP, and it's the reality of politics. You don't contest against a big power without good coalition, and it's the way it's been, as far back as democracy has existed. So would have expected that these other smaller parties would have come together and start giving Nigerians something to think about. But so far so good, they've not done well, and that in the reality we are left with PDP and APC. But I don't completely agree that it's two devils. I think there are I think there are elements in APC as well as PDP that we can all look forward to, and that is why I seriously desire a primary debate, because and I think the two political parties owed the whole Nigerian people that right to actually see, and that's why I condemn to every level the idea of consensus candidates, because that is denying people of the best as far as what the political parties are how to offer is concerned. If we have a primary primary debate, that in fact it is a good way, it would be a good way for the parties to sell themselves better to the Nigerian people, because at the moment Nigerian people don't trust anything coming out from them again. But if they can actually show Nigerian people that they are still very much democratic as they are supposed to be, putting up a debate at the primary level for Nigerians to see what they can offer, I think is going to sort of transform the orientation Nigerians have about the parties. And I think what we Nigerians should be doing is to pressure the two of them, the two political parties, to actually, give us a debate as far as their primary election is concerned. And I think that would sort of give us hope as to, run into the elections.
Okay, as it stands, PDP, they have over 15 candidates
Very beautiful.
they have bought their forms. Now, APC have about 10 for now, and they are forces. In fact, when you talk about forces, political forces, the PDP and the APC. And looking at the way we want to go, are there names that you may feel like, since as it stands, we are still stuck with these two? Are there names that you would love to see in the ballot paper on the INEC from the APC and the PDP?
Well, I'm hoping that the two parties present their best candidates. So I'm keen on the primary debate. Not even because it will be a disservice to us if the parties are going to come out without any election at the primary level and just shove somebody to our throat. We don't have whoever they present at the general election. We are almost helpless. But that means you are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. But if you can have a primary debate that shows that the party is ready for proper democratic development, then I think we cannot be excited. And I think personally, I'm keen to see a debate between of course, the Asiwaju and the vice president is something I'm earnestly keen to see. And of course, between the former vice president and his running mate in the last election, that talking about
Obi and Atiku.
Yes, I think I earnestly look forward to those, parties debating, and it's going to give us the best as far as the primary election is concerned.
Okay, and that's where we'll leave it today on the State of the Nation. Our time is fast spent. Remember that State of the Nation comes your way every Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And thank you, Oluwatobi, for coming on the program.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope to see you when next we call on you.
By the grace of God.
And also, thank you for listening to the show. And thanks to our producer, Oluwaseyi Ajadi. Yes, till Thursday, when we'll be back again with another topic. I am Manosike Chimeze. Do have a lovely day.
This is Lagoon Radio.